Hello from South Africa. It's great to be talking to you today on heroes. I'm going to be talking a little bit about sporting heroes. I was just thinking back 3 years ago during the World Cup. I did a link up between Swanland and Bloemfontein, where England were playing Germany, and I was at the game, and unfortunately there weren't many England sporting heroes, and certainly the referee that day wasn't a hero, if you remember that game. But anyway, I'm just thinking back to my younger years about sporting heroes, and I'd look back at 1990. I remember Paul Gascoigne and Gary Lineker. They were definitely up there as heroes, and then a bit more local hero. As a youngster, I was one of the few who very uncool at the time, Hull City fans. I think there was about 3,000 of us, and Dean Windus was certainly one of my early heroes. Who'd be someone probably on the front of my maths book. But it's an interesting topic, sporting heroes. I think increasingly we've been exposed to sporting heroes where there's a lot of glitz and glamour around their lives, and yet we're increasingly seeing there's a lot of holes and brokenness amongst many of these sporting heroes. I don't mean to name a few obvious ones. In recent years have been Tiger Woods, Lance Armstrong, and then obviously a South African recent one is Oscar Pistorius. And I think that they're quite recent ones that, of examples that have guys that have there's been a lot of brokenness and things that have not been right behind the scenes in their lives, and that's come out during their careers. I think there's been just to name a couple of the examples earlier, Paul Gascoigne and Dean Windus are probably examples of guys who post sporting careers have struggled, and that's come out even more like after their careers. Just to share, just being in the football industry, I'm actually aware that professional football has the highest risk of depression, suicide, divorce, and believe it or not, bankruptcy in the UK. So this is a profession that is quite volatile, to say the least. And I think when we look at a local player like Dean Windus, he's quite open about his struggle from being a professional footballer quite recently, being cheered on by thousands, and obviously looking back at Wembley not so long ago, as a big hero in the city, to a few years later where things are not going so well for him. He's sat at home, he's bored, he's not playing, and he hasn't got all those thousands of people cheering him on, and life's become very difficult for him. And it's as if it's not just his football that's gone, it's also his identity, which is quite clearly been taken away. And I think when we're talking about sporting heroes, the reality is that heroes to fans is often linked to their talent and not necessarily their character. I mean, what sporting heroes will often feel is the more they develop as a player, the more their talent and ability grows, the more they are praised. And even if their character and integrity as a player diminishes, sometimes has little effect on the way they're perceived. And many people would say, well, what they do in their own time is their own business. If we just go back 10 years ago, I was actually greatly impacted by a footballer, probably one a lot of you would know of, called Stuart Elliott, who was at the time really doing well at Hull City. And what really struck me about Stuart was he was a footballer who was significantly different from the stereotype of footballers, and he was a guy who so clearly stood up for his faith, and he didn't really care what anyone said. I've had the privilege to get to know him in recent years, and you know, he's very straightforward in some respects of where it's called first family, second, and then football / career, ministry, third. And you know, for me, he's been someone who has been a sporting hero, and you know, been able to look up to. Yeah, I just wanted to leave with a question in conclusion. We know that sport is not going to fade away, and we know that sporting heroes won't fade away. But the question I want to leave is, how do we define what is a sporting hero? Okay, I hope you have a great evening. Much love from Cape Town and Sioli, who's in Johannesburg. Okay, bye.